Hello, welcome back to Hunter Tune. Today I'm gonna dyno this EK that we've been working on for the last couple videos. It's got a K20, assumingly built K20. The block has an ERL stamp on it, so I'm assuming it's got some goodies inside the motor. We just swapped out the turbo. I swapped out the genuine Garrett for a Hunter tuned VS Racing 6262 turbo with a T3 flange. It has a full race sidewinder and it has a tile wastegate. There is no boost controller on it from my knowledge. It just has the reference going to the bottom of the gate and it goes to the intake manifold. So not sure what kind of boost it's gonna make. The only thing that I've done to this car other than swap the turbo is I did take it down to the gas station and I put some E85 in it because I assumed the car was tuned on E85, but on my way home or back to the shop, I realized that the tune was extremely lean. So all I did was I went into the K-Pro, downloaded the map that it had, and I chucked 30% at the tune, and that's all I've done. The tune didn't look the greatest, so I'm hoping we can improve on it. But I want to get a baseline, and then we're going to see what we can do to improve it. I'm going to pull up the file. I'm going to do a baseline run and see what this kind of power this thing's going to make. I'm going to data log it as well to see what the Honda is going to tell us for boost level and everything like that, because like I said, this thing's kind of a mystery on what it's even going to do. So let's get it fired up and we'll do a baseline run and then we'll check out the tune after and see if we can improve on it. All right guys, I got everything set up. Let's hit this thing and see what kind of power it makes. Hopefully it all holds together. Well, it sounds pretty good. It definitely seems like it's pretty laggy. It doesn't really want to come into boost very fast, but once it comes in, it sounds pretty good. Let's see what it made for power. Yeah, 461 horsepower, 329 foot-pounds of torque. I'm going to show you the power curve here in a second. So this is the power curve so far. And as you can see, it's kind of like dead, you know, right around like 6,000 RPM it really starts to come to life. But before that, it definitely needs a little help. So I'm gonna go into the tune. We're gonna maybe adjust some things. It looked like it was a little bit lean coming into boost, like down low before it hit VTEC. It would definitely seemed lean. And once it hit VTEC, the air fuel was pretty damn good. It was like 11.0, maybe like 10.8. So yeah, let's do some digging on the tune and see what we can come up with. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to lower the VTEC point. It was 5,300. I'm going to lower it down to 4,300, and that should help kind of spunk it up and bring it to life a little faster. According to the data log right here, the wideband is not hooked in, and you can see our cam angle starts off at like 30 degrees, drops down to like 19, and then once VTEC hits, that's when the boost really starts to come in. You can see 5,400, let's see, 4,900, we're at 4.5 pounds, and then after VTEC we're at, you know, 9.4 pounds, and it finally peaked boost at 6,300. So I don't know if maybe the thing's got a boost leak somewhere, or if it's just a little unhappy. 143 mile an hour out of this EP3 transmission's pretty cool. But yeah, let's try to get this down low section a little better. Like I said, we are going to lower the VTEC point. The rev limiter is 8,500 currently, which is probably fine. I'm gonna add some fuel in on the low cam side of things. I'm not going to do a whole lot of tuning, just, you know, give it a little fuel, 10% maybe. Oh wait, that's the VTEC side. Gotta pull that back out. So the low cam side, we're gonna edit all tables, and we're just gonna give it like 10% here overall once you go wide open, and see how that helps things. The timing map looks okay, but it really drops timing pretty severely when it hits boost. You can see this is wide open throttle, no boost column, and then right next to it, it drops like 5 degrees of timing. So we might want to spunk up the timing through here to kind of bring it up closer to where it is right here, just a little bit. So we're going to spunk this up by like 4 degrees. This is still pretty safe. Ignition, this thing was tuned on pump gas, remember, so same thing on this side. You can see the timing is really you know, kind of aggressive down here, and then it just plateaus, falls on its face down here. So we're gonna spunk this up a little bit just so it's a little bit smoother through here. So now at 15 pounds we're at like 19 degrees, which you can see this too. Look at 20, 18, 19. We want to make sure that we're going 20, 19, 18 instead of high, low, high. We want to go high, lower, 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 lower as we go down the boost columns. So one way we can do that is we can just do this, and then we can hit interpolate horizontally. And now our timing is smooth going this way. So 16 degrees. Let's try to lower these values a little bit. Go like -3 or something here. Okay, so now we can take this and interpolate it vertically so our timing gets a little smoother going this way. So 16 degrees on 16 pounds should be fairly conservative. Our cam angle's at 30 degrees before VTEC. I'm going to set it all to 30 just to kind of see how it's going to respond, and then we can try like 20, we can try 10, etc, etc. I don't know if this thing has a 50-degree wheel. We could probably put 50 degrees of VTC down in here on the low cam side to help spool it up. And same over here, it's like 30. But you can see on the power curve, it was really flat up top. I know it's probably hard to see over there, but the power was like, once it came into boost, it was just flat. It wasn't building power, which pulling some cam angle out might help. So we might try to set the cam angle at like 10 degrees at 9,000 and then interpolate vertically up to that. So at 30, we'll go to 10, and I'll show you what it looks like here in a second. Vertically. There we go. So like as the RPM is increasing, now it's pulling cam angle out of it. We're retarding the cam as it revs higher. It's kind of the thing. Sometimes these setups, they'll want a lot of cam angle up top, and some of them don't. So I don't know if this thing's got camshafts in it or what it has. So we just got to play around until we figure it out. So yeah, I think that's all I'm going to do for now, and see if we can spunk up down low a little bit. We'll do another pull, and we'll see how it acts. Alright guys, so doing those changes literally did nothing. It actually lost power, probably just because it's a little hotter. And the boost didn't come in any faster. So I don't know if maybe VTEC's not even working. I don't know, it seems a little odd. And I can't really hear it crack. I can't hear VTEC crack, bro. So might have to do a little bit more digging, make sure the VTEC solenoid's plugged in, and make sure that the ECU is commanding VTEC coming on. Let's see here. Yeah, Fly, you can just hang out on my computer, it's fine, sure. So this is the first log that we did. Let me get rid of the short-term trim and change it to VTEC. So we'll just go to define template here, and instead of short-term, we can change this to VTEC. And it should say like on or off. Okay, VTEC is turning on at 5300 on the first log, and on the second log, it's turning on at 4200. Okay, so that looks fine, but it's not doing anything. Like, it's not actually cracking, I don't think. It's switching tables, so the ECU's commanding VTEC to come on, but I don't think it's actually turning on at the motor. So we gotta figure that out. Well, guys, the dyno always seems to bring out the best in vehicles, right? You always seem to find the issues. VTEC is not working, from my assumption. In the tune, it was at 5300. We lowered it to 4200. The power curve did not change whatsoever, and I don't know what's going on. So I dove in, I checked continuity for the VTEC switch at the ECU, and I checked it to the VTEC solenoid, and I have continuity, I have good ground. I checked the VTEC pressure enabled, and I tried it off and on, no change to VTEC, and you can't hear it crack either, so like I know it's probably not working. I'm assuming the car has oil pressure because it's not knocking. I've been beating on it for a while, and the oil feed line was leaking a little bit, so like I know it's got pressure to the turbo. I don't know anything else about this motor. Maybe they assembled something wrong in the head. I really hope not. So I pulled the solenoid, and in the car, it's like way back here behind the turbo, or next to the exhaust manifold down there. And I don't know if you can see this bolt. I don't know if somebody was in here before and they tried to take the solenoid off. There we kind of go. There we go. You can see this head of this bolt is completely screwed, and I literally spent like a good 30 minutes just trying to get that last bolt removed so I could pull the VTEC solenoid. And I have the VTEC solenoid up here on the bench. This is the one that came out of the car, and I have another one here from the other motor, and I pulled them. The screen is clean, there's nothing, no debris or anything in there, and I did make a little jumper wire to power the solenoid, and it clicks. Everything clacks and clicks and whatever. So I don't know if maybe the ECU isn't sending power. It's got continuity, but maybe the ECU isn't sending the power. I have not verified that yet, and I don't know if I can. Maybe I can just flick the key forward and check to see if I have 12 volts coming to it, and if I do, then I know it's either a bad solenoid, but it clicks, so I don't know. I have had in the past on a B series car, I had a bad VTEC solenoid where I tested it and it would click, but it wouldn't engage VTEC, like the valve was stuck or something. So I could swap the solenoid and try it again. I don't know. Otherwise, it could be something with the motor. Maybe it doesn't have enough oil pressure or something. I was reading that there's an oil galley in the girdle that has to be plugged. I don't know. I'm assuming that this thing has that stuff done, but maybe not. Maybe we'll have to pull it back off of the dyno and pull the oil pan off. I don't really want to do that, but I don't really know what else it could be, unless there's something in the head that's screwed up. But I would assume if it was like a pin or something, you know, like a lot of guys talk about the pins inside the head not, you know, if they're like installed wrong or missing or whatever, VTEC won't engage. But like usually you'll have 1 or 2 cylinders try to hit, you know. It's not usually like completely off. Like VTEC doesn't even try to engage at all. So like I gotta make sure it's getting power from the ECU, and if it's not getting power from the ECU to the solenoid, maybe the ECU's bad. Maybe we could do a different output and run it to a relay or something, maybe, if that's the case. Or I could run a 12-volt switch with a button to like verify it that way. I don't know. I'm stumped for the night. I spent way too long trying to take that bolt out. So I'm gonna call it quits for tonight. All right, I didn't leave yet. I took the VTEC switch wiring and I went into the K-Pro. I just turned the key forward and I set all the parameters at 0 so I could get to see if the ECU was actually sending power to the solenoid, and it is. So when I have this stuff set at 0, RPM 0, speed 0, lower 0, all of it at 0, VTEC's active all the time, or the ECU is gonna want to turn VTEC on no matter what, all the time, which means that it should send power, 12 volts, up to the solenoid, and it's getting power to the wire. So wiring, not an issue. ECU, not an issue. Solenoid, we haven't tried yet. I just feel like if it clicks, it's good, you know, or it should be good. I don't know, maybe we'll try a new solenoid. I don't know how common it is for these to go out. And if it's not the solenoid, then we're gonna have to pull it off the dyno and pull the oil pan and see if we see anything. There was no debris in the pickup of the VTEC solenoid, so I wouldn't think that the motor doesn't have oil pressure, just as an assumption, because if it didn't have oil pressure, it'd probably be chewing parts up. And there was no debris in the screen at all of the solenoid. So unless that little block, people are saying you got to block something in the girdle. If they didn't do that on this engine, maybe that's part of it. I don't know, maybe I should just not overthink it and just try a different solenoid. Alright guys, I just changed the VTEC solenoid with the one that came with the spare motor with this car. I threw that one on, and I just drove it lightly, and I feel like I can hear VTEC crossing over now. So let's do a pull and see if power changes at all on the dyno. Alright guys, so I did a couple pulls and the car is making more power. I don't know if it's a combination of two things, but I did put more cam angle in the tune on the VTEC side, just because like it just didn't seem like it was picking up, you know, spooling up the turbo how I thought it would. But this is a K20, and my Integra, the one I have more experience with, is a K24. The K24 definitely doesn't want or it doesn't need as much cam angle to make good power. The K20, on the other hand, really likes a lot of cam angle, it seems. And this was after swapping the VTEC solenoid and putting cam angle in it. So I don't know if the VTEC solenoid is bad. It might not have been, but it's making more power through the mid-range, as you can see. The old tune-up at 6,600 RPM was 384 horsepower. And now we're at 435 horsepower at the same spot. So peak number went from 448 to 482. So I'm gonna keep picking away at it. I put more cam angle in it and I ramped it into, I think I have like 25 degrees of cam angle in it at 9,000 RPM, and I'm gonna see how it acts with that setting. It might want less up top, it might want more. The way that the power was planted before, it was really flat. Above 7,000 RPM, the power was just really flat. And I only had like 10 degrees of cam angle in it way up there. So I'm thinking putting more angle in it everywhere might bring our power up everywhere. So let's give this a shot. As soon as I put more cam angle in it, the tune-up got really lean on the VTEC side. So that's just telling me that it liked it. It needs more fuel because now there's more air introduced at that spot of the tune. So that's always a good rule of thumb, is if you make a change and the setup gets leaner, that means more air was introduced, which means more power is being made. So let's try another one. I'm gonna try to run this one up. If the air fuel looks good, I'm going to give her a send, you know. Yep, and now we're back down to 440 horsepower again. So we made good power here, but I just did those changes, and now the power is back down to where it was, 443. So I don't know. I don't know if maybe the engine's just a little low on oil pressure once it gets hot. I'd be curious to leave it sit for a few hours, let it cool all the way off, and hit it while it's cold and see if it picks up a bunch of power. Because if it does, it might be an oil pressure problem and we might need to put some thicker oil in it, because I did change the oil with 5W40. The setup might want 2050, or the engine's a little tired. I'm not sure. It also could still be cam angle related, because I have been playing around with it quite a bit. Or it could be wideband related, because it made way more power at like a 13.5 air fuel than it did an 11.5. So the wideband could be reading richer than what it actually is, because this is an old school AEM with the 4.2 sensor. Maybe I'd be curious to do some tuning with a different wideband as well, because I've run into that before too, where the wideband will lie to you. And I stayed in it on that one pull where it was lean, and it made like 40 more horsepower. So maybe the wideband's lying to us. So I do still have a couple theories of why this thing might be a little bit low on power and spool time in compared to the other stuff that I've done. It has a full exhaust with a lot of tight bends in it, 2 mufflers, and they're chambered mufflers. They're not straight through, and they might be straight through, but they're still mufflers, right? Any length of exhaust and any muffler, resonator, etc. is going to limit spool time. The turbo, believe it or not, wants to be free flowing out of the exhaust so it can spin up faster. When it's got back pressure behind the turbo, it's going to be limited on how fast it can spin up. I honestly wouldn't be surprised if we ran this thing open down pipe if it picked up another 50 horsepower, maybe even more than that, and a bunch of spool time. But I don't know how far I really want to take this car. I'm not sure. I'm not sure what I want to do. I still obviously need to play with the cam angle a little bit more to see exactly what it wants. And I do think it needs a different wideband because I don't trust this one that's in here. I just added fuel to it and it lost all the power that it had because it was 13.5 and then richening it to an 11.5, it lost like 40 horsepower. That just doesn't sound right to me. It might have been a 12.0 and now it's a 10.5, you know. That would understand like making less power that way. So like I said, the wideband might be lying to us. It also could be lying to us too because the exhaust is so full of soot, so full of just crap from the old turbo smoking so bad. I might pull the valve cover off and do a valve lash. I might just look into a few things. I don't know how far I'm going to go with this car, guys. I don't know what I all really want to do to it, how much work I want to put into it. I really kind of want to focus on my S2000 a little bit more and really get that thing ripping more than it is already. But I wanted to at least bring some life back into this thing. And I mean, you can't really complain with 480 horsepower. Even before I tuned it, it still felt pretty good. So I don't know, what do you guys think we should do with this thing? I might put it on the back burner and start working on the single cam. I might work on the S2000 a little more. I might work on the Mustang. I don't know. So many choices, right? I feel like it's a problem. Sometimes having options and choices make me not interested in a lot of them. So, but anyways, let me know what you guys thought of this video. Hopefully it was helpful for something. Maybe it wasn't, I don't know. We're still learning on this one, so be sure to subscribe and like the video if you want to see more. And have a great night and a better tomorrow, guys. God bless, and we'll see you later.